Hi, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're a current subscriber. Today I'm analyzing a Jaclyn video about why she spoke out about Eugenia Cooney and really whether or not she intended to help Eugenia or to run her life as Eugenia has claimed. So we're going to cover body language and see if there's any indications of deception or honesty or just what we can discover through this video. So let's get into it.
Safe. I understand a lot of people are leaving negative comments and even making videos. And I want those people to know I am not upset with you. I am not angry with you. Honestly, a lot of the things and criticisms that are being brought up, I agree with. Some of them, I ran through a lot of these things in my head before pushing publish. I knew how it...
A few things I want to note from the very beginning is that what seems like shifty eyes with Jaclyn Glenn it's not shifty all over the place. It's just looking to decide this is data collecting, recalling information and memories, not an indication of deception there. Her blink rate is normal as well. There's not a ton of indications of stress. There is a point that she lifts her hand and she says, "And I agree," indicating confidence in that response and the fact that she agrees with what the criticisms have been and some things that were said about this certain situation. Now, if you don't know the situation, basically Jaclyn Glenn helped, depending on how you look at it, Eugenia Cooney by having Eugenia Cooney do any psych evaluation. She basically tricked Eugenia into thinking that Eugenia was going to be attending a escape room night with friends, and instead some professionals showed up, some mental health professionals showed up and did a psych evaluation on her, and she unfortunately did not pass that evaluation and was 5150. So there's a lot of criticism around whether Jaclyn was really helping or doing more harm.
I knew that it's not my story to tell, but I had to take a calculated risk, and I made the choice to say what I know. I could have stayed quiet. I could have said nothing. But do I really risk letting someone persist in an unhealthy environment where there's a high likelihood of relapse? Do I risk...
You see lip compression around the words "I know," which can indicate some holding back of what she really wants to say as far as what she knows, or some thoughts around what she knows. So you see a bit of that there, and then when something is significant to her, her baseline is to go from data collecting to looking, data collecting, thinking, to looking, and when she looks directly at the camera, that is when she is indicating something that is significant to her in particular.
Something terrible happening and sitting on information that could have helped, or do I do something? And I decided to do something. The first criticism I seem to see is that I made information public that I should not have. While I did say things that were unknown before, in the broader sense of her getting help, that's public now. Shane made a video for millions to see. The problem is that it's untrue in a way that keeps...
You see a bit of frowning in some instances here, which cannot be inauthentically replicated. So specifically around some things she says, such as terrible, let something terrible happen. So that indicates she's being honest. That matches with what she's saying. Interestingly, though, she has shifted the blame from basically she put out all this information to it's all public because Shane did it. So shifting this blame and accountability onto Shane and not fully on herself, though a little more into this video, she does the opposite.
Keeps her in a very dark place. So that's why I made my video as fast as I could, because I was scared that this narrative would persist, that she is fine now, and I very much believe that she is not. And I also want people to know that these are not rash decisions that I made on my own. This is something that I had people around me for, also weighing the pros and cons. I had for the intervention.
So she has more eyebrow flashes and looking directly at the camera, emphasizing some really extreme words here, actually. She also is, again, not taking full individual accountability. This is something she has now shifted into her having this group of people that basically agreed with her, which isn't necessarily wrong or right, but is interesting. Some toxic people might do that. I don't think that Jaclyn is toxic personally in this situation, but these are indications that you should look at in your own life that someone might be toxic. Just something to note there. When they socialize an idea, when they make something a group effort that is seen as negatively to other people, instead of saying, "I did this, it was me," It goes to we, our, someone else was involved and they agreed I should do this. I pulled them in, and it can also indicate a bit of triangulation where someone's pulling other people into this thing against someone else. So I want to make note of that here.
I had Frank, I had Eva, I had myself, I had David, and I had Katie Morton. She wasn't there for the intervention, but I was at such a loss as for what to do. I tried calling the police, they couldn't do anything. I tried calling mental health professionals, they couldn't do anything because they're not law enforcement and can't forcibly enter a home. So the only option I had, which I didn't know until talking to Katie, was to convince her in any way that I could to be at my place so that I could legally let mental health professionals in to help. I had conversations on the phone with Katie. I had emails back and forth with her.
So now we see some increased indications of anxiety here, where we're not just seeing emphatic behaviors, you're seeing full movements with their body, specific words and phrases. She uses her entire body to point out. These are indications of stress, which, again, in some situations and in some contexts, can indicate deception. That's not what we're seeing here. It has to be specific and in a group of other behaviors. You do see an increased blink rate here, but again, this is an indication of stress.
So to be honest, her involvement with Shane's video is a little confusing to me because she knows the darkest details of that home. She was actually connected to me through the lawyer that you see in Shane's video over a year ago. I reached out to her over a year ago with my initial email saying I'm worried about a friend. And I had her connection through the lawyer, who was also my lawyer, who actually, throughout this entire process, has been the voice of Eugenia's mother.
You see a flash of contempt when she says darkest details in that home. You see a bit of one side of her face. You're like, that is a bit of contempt there, which makes sense in the context of this story.
And communication with me. You better be damn sure she did not want people to know about this intervention because of how negligent it makes her look. I am not trying to point my finger at Eugenia in all of this. I am trying to out her mother. And as far as posting all the information online, for the same reason as I gave before,
she has this literally illustrator of pleading. I'm not trying to point this at Eugenia, at her mom, and the negligence of her mother. Basically, literally pleading with their audience to understand and believe what she is saying here. We also see more flashes of contempt here and there when she's discussing the negligence of Deb, Eugenia Cooney's mother.
The four of us sat down and unanimously decided to publish that video. Is it my story to tell? Absolutely not. It's not. And I struggled with that a lot. I kept quiet for years. And for the entire recovery, I stayed quiet. Throughout our friendship, I kept things very private, offline, until that ability has essentially been ripped away from me. And I knew that this would do that. I knew this would be the end of my friendship. It kind of amazes me that
you see a bit of what looks like lip licking. It's more of a tongue jut, and that is this neglect of this idea, this dislike of this idea, which in the context of this video makes a lot of sense. She seems more shaky and illustrative. When someone's over illustrative, I typically believe that could indicate deception. When someone's not at all illustrating anything, in some contexts, in some situations, that could also indicate deception. And this, it's reasonable. She has a lot of anxiety around this, understandably. She's faced a lot of criticism, but she's also just illustrating with her head, with her whole body. She spent years keeping things silent, and she had this whole group, and then eventually that was taken away, and that's what we're seeing here.
Anyone thinks the ability to reach out privately is even an option for me. I don't think it ever will be again. You know, I'm hearing a lot that it wasn't my place. I had to make a choice, and it's not my place. This is something that people have been harassing me about for years. For as long as I've known her, people have been really angry with me for being a friend that does nothing. You know, how can you have a friend that looks like that and say nothing? You're
more illustrators when she's touching her chin like this and looking that direction. Of course, that is just her considering what she's about to say and how she's about to say it. That gives her some pause to what she is about to say. So a lot of this has been what I believe is honesty and emphatic behaviors. There's a lot of head shaking, which is a bit of disbelief in this context. If she had said, I went to her house, I would think, of course, that something was different there that was notable that could mean deception, but that's not what we're seeing. She's saying a lot of things in a negative. A lot of this is negative, and you're seeing all of this disbelieving head shakes there. She talked to Katie Morton, lots of emails. That disbelief head shake, she didn't say lots of, but that disbelief head shake indicates there were probably a lot. She talked to Katie Morton a lot about this, confided in her a lot. And in this instance, in this portion here, she's talking about how she basically kept a lot of things private. So we're seeing those disbelieving head shakes there.
You're letting your friend die and you don't even care. Why don't you call a doctor? Why don't you call an ambulance? How can you live with yourself? How do you sleep at night and do nothing? It's been my place to step in for so long, and now I do it. And it's not my place. If we didn't do that intervention, she would have died. And I know that that is a harsh thing to say, but I fully believe it. Some people hate me. Some people say that, we saved her. And I do not think we saved her, because she is still in a...
You see a lot more emphatic behavior, some eyebrow flashes, and again, when she goes from this to this, this to this, emphasizing the importance of specific things she once noted where she would have died. And again, Jaclyn talks in extremes a lot in this, and that could be upsetting or make people believe that possibly Jaclyn overreacted and the situation wasn't as bad and it wasn't her place. But verbally, what we're hearing is truthfully what I've personally also seen around Eugenia, where her driver's ed teacher, Eugenia's driver's ed teacher, and everybody around her was just supposed to say something. But when Jaclyn did take action, suddenly there was a lot of hatred towards Jaclyn because she took action. Now, I don't fully personally agree with how she went about it. There might have been better ways, but she took action when people were calling for her to. And it went from, it's your place to say something, you're Eugenia's best friend, to, that's not at all your place, what are you doing? So I completely and fully agree verbally with what she's saying here. But body language wise, we're just seeing a lot of emphatic behaviors and some anxiety as she continues to move her body and is very illustrative, but not over illustrative here.
The same environment, in a dangerous environment with the same people who for years of her life, when she was struggling, told her that she was fine. She was in a dangerous place, and she's still in a dangerous place. She was in denial of her problem before, and she's in denial of her problem now. It is different, but very similar, with the same mother who tried everything she could to stop her from going to a doctor. She was in tears because her mom has her convinced that if she goes against what her mom wants, her mom could die because she has a weak heart. She was in tears saying, if I go to a doctor, my mom could die because she has a weak heart and this will stress her out. And she lives in constant paranoia of killing her mother. She takes care of her mother, and it should be the other way around. Why not worry about your daughter's health to the point of taking her to a doctor ever? I mean, even she said her brother.
We're continuing to see some contempt and disgust around negligence of Eugenia's mother. I'm going to say alleged, but that is what Jaclyn is saying, that there has been some negligence. And you see this, her mother said she would die. Eugenia said her mother would die. So we're seeing some emphatic behaviors there and some contempt and disgust around the situation that honestly would be disgusting.
Brother told her, you look fine to me. I don't know why everyone online is freaking out about the way that you look. You're fine. Even people who don't know her have seen weird shit online that's made them worried about it. There are endless videos with endless comments online like this one from 2 years ago. People are saying I'm taking her happy moment away from her, her moment of recovery, her moment to finally be away from negativity online. Do I want to let her have this moment and be happy and feel good about herself? Yes, with all of my heart. Yes, I do. But do I want her mom to have a moment when people aren't looking at her, a moment where the attention is away from her?
There's a ton of contempt and disgust around talking about Eugenia's mother. She has some eyebrow flashes, and again, emphasis towards, I really want Eugenia to have this moment and be happy. But do I want to really take away the fact that Deb was neglectful? No. So that is what we're seeing here, some emphasis and then contempt and disgust towards Eugenia's mother.
Do I want to give her a moment to feel like she got away with it? No, I can't. People are saying I'm selfish. I thought about it for a long time, and maybe they're right. There is a part of me that acted very selfishly in doing all of this and posting this stuff online. I had a friend a long time ago.
This is the part that I believe is a little dishonest, where you see the forehead crease and her push back her hair. After she says, do I believe it's selfish? Maybe they're right. But then you see this pushing her hair back, self-grooming, and you see this forehead crease. It seems this disbelief, there's this disbelief around, I can't believe people are even saying that, as opposed to what she says prior to that, where she says something that basically sounds like she agrees a little bit that people might be right. It might have been a bit selfish of her. So this is one part of this out of the entire thing that I felt was a bit dishonest. Aside from that, a lot of it is emphatic. A lot of it is just displaying the significance of the situation and getting Eugenia help. Jaclyn wanting to be a good friend and wanting her friend to be happy and healthy. And that is what we were seeing here. So not a lot of indications of deception, nothing that conflicted verbally and body language wise. So I believe that Jaclyn Glenn was very honest about the situation, did care about Eugenia Cooney, and did just want to help her. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section now. If you've watched this far, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Thank you.